Best coaches in the game, we really ain't playing. We regroup up in the Slack chat where the coaches debrief. We be piecing these puzzles, occupy the chunk of the pie. Ain't no lie when we hit the block, helmets casket is top. You be seeing helmet after helmet, helmet after helmet. First place, second place, fifth place, eighth place, 12th place, 15, 16, 20. So many helmets, you got blurred vision, we got too many. Tick your tech. Oh man, shit. They got us fucked up. Army, regroup. We pledge always to have that edge. We don't fire warning shots. Competition just dropped. We locked and loaded before lock. Whatever the time, yeah. Do you even correlate?
Being the best requires a willingness to outwork your competition. There's always someone smarter, faster, sharper, more naturally gifted to come around.
Welcome back, DFS Army. We just finished the wild card round and wanted to take a look back at the Milly Maker, the 3-game slate, what won it, and then the top DFS pros, what their MME strategy was, and what we can learn and, of course, take away from that. So let's go ahead and dive into it. All right. So go over here to Fantasy Labs and pulling off the Milly Maker 3-game Sunday slate. And obviously we knew that the top lineup was going to be very high ownership. This isn't a regular 10 to 13 game slate that we see, weeks 1 through 18. So duplicates, that is an issue. How can you get different? How can you, especially if you're going to MME it, how can you not have, 60 to 70% of your lineups duplicated, which was very difficult for even the best of the best. But this top lineup was able to not be duplicated, win the Milly, and had 256% total ownership, which is actually really good for a slate like this. And we were doing a lot of back testing. We kind of found, 300 to 310%. And sometimes that would be enough to not be duplicated. Other times that would be too much. And, you'd see 6 to 7 lineups duplicated on this slate specifically. But the main one that won it had Daniel Jones, Saquon Barkley, Isaiah Hodgins with a TJ Hawkinson bring back. So, quarterback +2 with a running back included. So not setting a rule to exclude the running back on smaller slates, trying to avoid that. So, keep yourself out of a win. And then having the TJ Hawkinson bring back. And we also had a J.K. Dobbins, Demarcus Robinson, and Jamar Chase stack. So a small game stack that really was the difference maker in this lineup because Demarcus Robinson was only 5% owned. And, just a way to obviously make this lineup unique. And then also the Miami defense is what kept it low. Most people kind of thought Buffalo is going to boat race Miami. We don't want the Miami defense. They're going to have negative points. Well, it just goes to show anything can happen with defenses, especially in the playoffs. So 18 points, smash, 208 points on a 3-game slate. That's incredibly good. And this lineup, of course, was not duplicated. Now, whoever won this, they had 2 lineups. And they both, just one, basically. They did really well. So going to take a look at some of these other ones to kind of see what we can take away since these were, some of the top 5 lineups in the Milly Maker. Kind of the same thing we're going to see in the first 5 lineups, all Daniel Jones. So Saquon as well. Again, Isaiah Hodgins and TJ Hawkinson. So right away, this lineup was identical to the last one. How it was different, this had J.K. Dobbins and Mark Andrews. The last one did as well, but it also had Jamar Chase. So this one did not. The biggest difference maker in this one is this also had Stephon Diggs and Gabe Davis. And, sometimes it's not necessarily about cumulative ownership, even though that can help prevent duplicates, but it's just the lineup construction in itself. So that's something I want to focus on specifically on this podcast as we're doing 3-game slates as opposed to the normal 10. How can we think about strategizing to get different? And then Cincinnati D, everyone played them. That was a smash. They didn't quite smash as far as their salary, but still pretty good. Let's go on to the third lineup. Just Blaze. So DJ, Saquon, Isaiah Hodgins, and TJ Hawkinson. So kind of the recurring theme there. So that lineup was actually quite similar. Stephon Diggs, Gabe Davis. However, had a bring back of Jeff Wilson in that stack, and then J.K. Dobbins and Cincinnati D. So on a normal slate, we'd say we're not putting the running back against an opposing defense. On a 3-game slate, that's something we just have to look past. Again, all the same lineups: Daniel Jones, Saquon Barkley, Isaiah Hodgins, and a TJ Hawkinson bring back. This one, very similar to the first one, the one it. J.K. Dobbins, Mark Andrews, Jamar Chase. However, this one had the Buffalo defense, and it also had Gabe Davis. So had another stack there as well. Now, see here that this is where it starts to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 duplicates. That's just crazy. 292. So yeah, these two were actually the same. These were all duplicated. So speaking of duplicates, we're going to start with Giant Squid. And Giant Squid kind of took a beating on the day in the Milly. But as far as top pros go, the lineup was most of Giant Squid's lineups were actually quite unique compared to relative to the rest of the field and the top pros. 76% unique lineups. So, found a lot of different ways to get different. So that's something we're going to kind of look at here. It's pretty crazy though. Top lineup, right? Not unique. 285%, 190 points. Now had Josh Allen +2, a bring back with Jeff Wilson, Saquon, Hodgins, Bellinger, bring back with Hawkinson, and then Cincy D. So this one was similar. Allen +2, bring back with Wilson, Barkley, Hodgins, and then Hawkinson, but had the double tight end, Dawson Knox. So actually Allen +3 with the Jeff Wilson bring back. And I think one of the things that I've noticed is if you're going to attack this slate, normally if you bring it back with 1, that helps, but 2, most of the lineups that I looked at, if you had a quarterback +2 and there was 2 bringbacks, it was very rare that I saw that it was duplicated. Allen, Diggs, Davis, Knox, so +3, but no bringbacks there. And see, a lot of the top pros were in on this one. So Uticao, Giant Squid, and then a couple other duplicates on that. So Allen +3 and a bring back. No duplicates, 279%. So this time Allen +2 and a bring back duplicated. We'll take a look at more of these, but again, normally when I was able to find QB +2 at least and 2 bringbacks, the lineups were not duplicated. Kirk Cousins +3, Isaiah Hodgins bring back. And Cousins was, more of the contrarian play compared to a Daniel Jones. So you could probably get away more so with doing a Cousins +3 and not a bring back because Allen was 30% owned. So it was harder to do with Allen to not have duplicates. And the same with Daniel Jones lineups because Daniel Jones was 30% owned as well. So as far as Giant Squid's exposures, a lot of Burrow, 32%. So that's probably a reason why his lineups were more unique than a lot of the field, because he was almost double the field on Burrow, just over the field on Allen, and same thing with Cousins, and then under on Daniel Jones. So, that is obviously a way. I've been thinking about this a lot. Like, how do you prevent? Because if you think about it, if you're 150 maxing the Milly Maker, each time your lineup, it's already hard to win. It's already a very negative ROI contest. But each time your lineup is duplicated, your expected value goes down more and more. So a lot of these pros are saying they just took a beating, and even more so than normal in the Milly Maker. And, the way to kind of prevent that is to think about how to build your lineup so different on a 3-game slate. Okay, more so than normal, you have to think about, what is the field going to do? Is the field going to be QB plus 2? Maybe I should do QB plus 3. Is the field going to be QB plus 3? Maybe I should do QB plus 3, but I'll bring 2 bringbacks, maybe because the field's only doing 1 bringback. So, ways like that you can get really different, or just stacks, maybe a mini like ping pong stack that nobody's on, like we saw with the number 1 lineup in the Milly Maker. Demarcus Robinson with the Jamar Chase. Demarcus Robinson was only 5%. You do that stack with Jamar Chase, so low the field has that lineup didn't get duplicated. That's what won it. So just kind of thinking about how you can build these lineups so that you're not running into a bunch of duplicates. So look at some of his exposures as well. Jeff Wilson, pretty high there. Shout out Bobby Wow and DFS Army. I know he was on Jeff Wilson, so I was on him as well, because I listened to that on Tournament Tactics. But, a lot of the field wanted to be on Wilson too, just as ways to get different, because it's so much harder to do on a 3-game slate. But luckily, he was over the field here. Dalvin Cook came in a lot lower than we thought. 25%. He was over there. Joe Mixon, kind of roundabout where we thought he'd be. And then J.K. Dobbins actually ended up being one of the lowest owned, and it was a good play, and he should have had a much better day. Baltimore was just stupid. So that's just what they were on Sunday. They were just stupid. So Darius Slayton, quite a bit there for being under on Daniel Jones. Tyler Boyd. But, just at this point, you're just fitting in these players to make the lineup fit. And, it's not a huge player pool to be choosing from on a 3-game slate. So Gabe Davis, Chase, over on Chase. And then really we're just looking for fades. And Justin Jefferson, didn't fade him enough. If you full faded Justin Jefferson, and I talked about this a week or 2 ago, sometimes if a player's price just gets too high, it's positive EV over the long run just to fade that player. And more so when their price is high and they're chalky, as you see with Justin Jefferson here. Almost 53% owned, 8,600. Your lineup looked a lot better if you faded Justin Jefferson. And really I'm not sure that it was his fault. It's more so the offense in general. But, and then this is something we'll see a lot, specifically on this slate, but DFS pros do this a lot regardless. It's tight end in the flex. Allow it for 100% on slates like this. So Mark Andrews, 41%, TJ Hawkinson, 38, Dawson Knox, 28, and then a couple guys at 15. So yeah, a lot of tight end in the flex lineups. And then looks like they were kind of just getting exposure to all the defenses, which that is exactly what you want to do on a slate like this. A little bit under on Buffalo and under on Cincy, but those are the 2 chalkiest. So from a leverage standpoint, that makes total sense. Now, I had to look long and hard to find really any pros that didn't just take a beating in the Milly Maker this past week. So, one thing I wanted to look at was the few that didn't have like a ton of duplicates, like Need Lunch Money, 83% unique. Normally that would be pretty crappy. You would see in the Milly Maker on normal, they may have 150 lineups and 140 are unique. Right. Or like 145, but this is obviously a much different slate. So 83% was pretty much top tier as far as the elite of the elite go. And Daniel Jones, Barkley, Isaiah Hodgins with a TJ Hawkinson bring back. Another stack, Joe Mixon, Mark Andrews, and Baltimore D. So you get the running back going against the opposing defense. Okay on a 3-game slate. And then Stephon Diggs and Gabe Davis, of course. 282%. So under the 300%, 187 total points. So Need Lunch Money had lots of quarterback +2 with running backs included. And there were some bringbacks as well, I believe. 1 to 2 bringbacks, but certainly weren't always forced. As we'll take a look here. Yeah, so this one being over 315%, and of course it was duplicated. This one not duplicated, just 10% under that. $272 duplicated. But again, this is kind of where if you're going to be on the chalky quarterback, you really have to think about how different can your lineup get in other spots, because you have that chalk quarterback. You have a QB +3, but all these guys are so cheap that a lot of the field is jamming in, QB +3 because Daniel Jones is only 5,600. Darius Slayton's 4,200. Isaiah Hodgins is 4,100. And now most of the field has that QB +3. So you're really trying to get different in there on, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 spots in a tournament of 117,647 entries. Much more difficult to do, as we will kind of see with Uticao when we get to him next. So, one spot where there was really this lineup was differentiated was Miami defense, and it's just not quite enough for that type of a chalky quarterback build. So it's either you really focus on another stack that's going to be contrarian when you're going to do a chalky stack like this on a slate this small, or you pretty much just have to play a contrarian QB stack. Otherwise, you're going to run into duplicate issues. And hey, if you get the top spot, you win the Milly Maker and you got to split it 3 ways. All right, you'll take that. But for the most part, it's really going to cut into your winnings when you get what normally would be a good min cash, and you're now splitting that with other people. So same thing. We're seeing Daniel Jones, Saquon Barkley, and, had there been 2 bringbacks, this is probably a different discussion here as far as the duplicates. This lineup had, see how this one was different. Daniel Jones plus Saquon Barkley. No pass catcher. Now we're talking about getting different. And 2 bringbacks. Theory is Daniel Jones runs a lot. Saquon, he runs, he catches. These 2 smashed together. And you had Adam Thielen and TJ Hawkinson. No duplicates, 249%. Kirk Cousins. That was contrarian. Kirk Cousins plus KJ Osborne, TJ Hawkinson, and Adam Thielen. Bring back with Saquon Barkley. So you could see why Need Lunch Money certainly had so many uniques relative to the rest of the field, because he was really thinking about different ways to attack this 3-game slate. And I really think specifically for the Milly Maker, this is something you have to think about on a 3-game slate way more than you would for other contests, because you're not going to run into so many duplicate issues in a contest that's 5,000, 10,000, as opposed to a contest that's over 100,000 on a 3-game slate. Some exposures. Josh Allen over the field there. Joe Burrow. I mean, just slightly over on Burrow and under on Cousins. And then, under a small amount on Daniel Jones. Pretty spread out exposure, but the most obviously was Josh Allen. Then over on Wilson and Dalvin Cook, not a lot. It was really hard to be really over the field on players on a slate this small, unless you locked in like a Demarcus Robinson, obviously, type player. Under on Saquon overall. So pretty interesting. And then, 21% to Marcus Robinson. Pretty good. That was a great play right there. But you wanted to be under on Justin Jefferson, and you're probably talking about a way better day. So Darius Slayton, over on Richie, Stephon Diggs, pretty good day. A little under on Lamar. Four tight ends over 22%. Bellinger, Andrews, Hawkinson, and Hurst. Under on Dawson Knox. And Dawson Knox was really close to having a great day. He didn't have a bad day, but he had a good day, but he would have had a great day if he had caught that second touchdown. Then Baltimore and Miami, you love to see it. Cheap defenses, specifically Miami with the 18 points smashed. And then under on Buffalo. But they were the chalk, so they gave up a lot of points and they were expensive. All right, so last one we're going to look at. They keep this short and sweet this week is Uticao. So he had the best day that I was able to find for DFS Pros. And specifically on this slate, this was the $25 Milly Maker as opposed to the normal $20. So, you put more money in to this one, of course, than you normally would for 150 max. And 55% unique. So not too unique, but as we're going to see, hold that thought. It's a lot harder to be unique in this contest than it is other contests. So we're going to take a look at that before we get out of here. But so Uticao had a lot of QB +2 and QB +3. So Allen, Diggs, Davis, and no bringbacks. And, that was kind of the thing. I think a lot of people just thought that Buffalo was going to romp Miami and they really wouldn't need, a bringback. But actually, if you did some bringbacks, you did quite well with those bringbacks because Miami scored 31 points and you were able to get more unique. Well, this one was duplicated once. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times duplicated. Allen, Davis, Knox, and you just had the Jeff Wilson bring back. %291%. So many duplicates. Chalk quarterback, chalk stacks all around. Just chalk 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 positions are all chalk. And they're high priced. So now when you're putting in players to go with them, you're getting a lot of the same players, right? You're getting a Jeff Wilson bring back. He's 5,400. Then you're like, okay, if I'm going to do Barkley, I'm going to do my high price running back. You're going to need Isaiah Hodgins at 4,100. We're putting a 2 tight end and flex. Like, it's just so much harder to be unique on this with this type of build going the same way. And part of it's just a need to want to play both Allen, Stephon Diggs, and Gabe Davis. So if he's playing Gabe Davis and Khalil Shakir, right? Now we're talking about a different lineup because Khalil Shakir was quite underowned. So this lineup, not duplicated, was able to do Hayden Hurst, T. Higgins, and a Baltimore defense. So kind of another stack there. Actually, Baltimore defense, J.K. Dobbins, and Hayden Hurst and T. Higgins. So really, I think it's that construction that was able to set this lineup apart. Just having a stack of 4 from another game. And Jaceki in this spot. So Allen, Diggs, Davis, Knox. So QB +3 and Jaceki with the bring back, 5% owned. That's how this lineup got different. Double tight end too. So love to see it. So as far as Uticao's exposures, Josh Allen, 67%. So all over Josh Allen. And, positive leverage there. But, of course, that's obviously why there were issues with getting unique with a lot of Uticao's lineups in the Milly Maker. Because the two, the quarterbacks that really weren't used at all, used a little bit of Tyler Huntley, but Joe Burrow and Kirk Cousins, they were in the teens in exposures. And, you were under the field there. And then at least he faded Daniel Jones. So at least didn't eat all the chalk quarterbacks. Way over on Cook and pretty good over on Barkley. Over on JK, Wilson. Faded Mixon, Singletary, and James Cook. And then just playing Slayton. Not a ton of Daniel Jones, but just a salary saver, right? 4,200, great spot. Diggs, way over the field there. Over on Davis as well. Had some Beasley in there. So, that's a spot where Uticao definitely got different in his lineups. Only 2% Beasley. Of the field was 2% Beasley. He was 10. So, and then faded Justin Jefferson. So that is right there. Probably a big contributor to the pretty decent ROI day for, the top DFS pros, considering most of them are losing 2,000, 3,000. Andrews, Hurst, Knox. So over 30% with these three. Over 32%. So you're going to get a lot of double tight end as we saw looking through those lineups. Giants, Baltimore. So over there, Minnesota, Cincy, under on Cincy and under on Buffalo. So the two highest priced defenses under there. And I think overall that paid off, of course. No Miami, though. Would have loved to have had Miami. So another thing I want to look at, though, as we leave, because, Uticao, great day. This always happens. Great day overall. But if you looked at the Milly Maker, you're like, not so much. So Uticao's lineup. This is in the Wildcat. No, there's only 3,300 entries here, right? So we obviously, and when we look at the exposures are relatively the same. So put a lot of the same lineups in the Milly Maker into the Wildcat, where there's only 3,300 entries. Obviously, now we're only talking about less than 10% of the lineups being duplicated. You got 91% uniques, whole different ball game. And oh, by the way, the top lineup was not duplicated. So ended up winning $200,000 with his top lineup. So just goes to show, if you're going to obviously enter the Milly Maker, where on a 3-game slate where there's over 117,000 entries, duplicates are something that you need to think about more. And those contests, that's how you need to think about, how can I get different in such a large field contest like that? Whereas Uticao's approach for the Wildcat was fantastic, won $200,000. In the Milly Maker, lost money. And it just goes to show, the difference in size of the contest and how your lineup kind of needs to be different. So same top lineup from Uticao's. Yep, same exact lineup that we saw in his top Milly Maker lineup. Josh Allen to Stephon Diggs to Gabe Davis. No bring back. We got Saquon Barkley, Isaiah Hodgins, Darius Slayton with a TJ Hawkinson bring back, and then J.K. Dobbins and Baltimore defense, 287%. Total ownership, 197 points. Smash. Congrats to Uticao. So, some things we could think about going forward, of course, on this 4-game slate we have coming up. We also got a 2-game slate. There's going to be a Saturday and Sunday slate, but obviously, wanted to take a look at these smaller slates and, think about how we can attack them and just kind of see the pro strategy of what they're doing. So I think that's going to wrap it up for this week. If you like this kind of content, please let me know by hitting that like button, comment, subscribe, and share, and hit that notification button so you never miss an episode. We'll see y'all next week. Wish y'all the best of luck. Later.